Star Wars story group writer Matt Martin. Star Wars canon is all fake anyway. Oh, I agree, it is. And we should therefore no longer care about Star Wars, right? No, really. When I see something like this, when I see the creators who don't even care enough about their own stories, the things that these people work on for a living, and they don't care about them, that just means that me as a viewer and as a consumer, as somebody who is a fan of these properties, well, it has a lasting and off-putting effect that ripples throughout the entire fandom. Hello, everybody. I am Mecha Random 42. The one, the only, the original, still your favorite YouTube harpy. I'm not going to read every single post in this article. Definitely check it out from Bounding Into Comics if you want to check it out. But they're quoting a Lucasfilm story group writer from a thread that he had a couple months back. And this article, I did a video on this article specifically. If I can pull that up, I'll link it right here. When the creators and when the brand representatives don't care what happens, it is off-putting to potential customers. It's off-putting to lifelong customers. Slowly, you stop caring about these properties. What happens first? Well, first off, you start paying attention to the movies and the TV shows just a little bit less each time. And I can put up with a lot as a fan. I can put up with a lot of canonical inconsistencies. I can put up with a lot of retcons. I can put up with a lot of change as long as it fits the story, suits the story, as long as I'm not being called an istanophobe and a man baby and every other name under the sun, then I could put up with a lot in these franchises. I could put up with, in Star Trek, for example, I could put up with the redesign of the Klingons from TOS to TNG, because what happened? Well, they didn't have the makeup effects in TOS in the original series. They didn't have the budget for it. They didn't have the techniques nearly as much because, let's face it, a lot of stuff has been simplified. And a lot of that is suspension of disbelief because a lot of it was from a production standard, right? A lot of it came in from not just not being able to do it, not having that kind of budget. It's a weekly television series. The fact that they redesigned them again for the new Star Trek wasn't about that. That was just as a way to make it different, just to sell their own merch, in my opinion. And that is the type of retcon and canon changes that I don't like. When they're only there because your new company comes in with a new license, and that seems to be a lot of the canonical changes over in Star Wars as well. At least the little differences, like why C-3PO has a red limb all of a sudden. It wasn't anything for the story. It was just so that they could sell the toy under the new license. One of the other things that really happens that I notice about this is that you see people arguing canon back and forth on something like Twitter. You see it in comment sections. And what happens if you're just a normie fan? What happens if you're somebody like that? Well, you see that sort of discussion, you see that sort of debate, and it is off-putting. It keeps people from enjoying the franchise. It keeps people away. It keeps people saying, well, this is just a toxic fan base. This is why you don't go and change canon willy-nilly like that. I can put up with a lot as a viewer, with slight inconsistencies, slight changes to canon, slight retcons. I can put up with a lot. But when it is coming from people who create it, who don't care, what happens? You have to build a believable world for these characters to live in, and you have to be able to suspend your disbelief at some point. You can't just have characters flying throughout space when they never have been established to do so before. You can't just come in, like on something like Star Trek, for example, you can't just say that all of a sudden all of the technology looks completely different, even though it's never looked that way before. Because clearly, people aren't dumb. We notice these things. And when you have a set established franchise, especially a geek franchise, people want to consume it. People want to take it apart, live in that world. They want to know the ins and outs and the workings. That is what being a nerd is.
The answer is nerd. Thanks a lot. Nerd. She's a nerd too.
And when I hear something like this coming from Lucasfilm creators, people who work in these properties, I just feel like we're getting picked on again for actually caring about this stuff.
Nerd!
And you know what? keep doing this and we're going to stop. This is why the toys sit there on the shelves. This is why people aren't bringing in the next generation into the Star Wars fandom. And this is why these brands like Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who are all bleeding fans, viewers. It's because of this stuff. It's because we don't want to keep arguing canon when it is so outrageously wrong and retcon. Look at Doctor Who. They completely undid the entire series. They undid 50 years of canon in one bad episode that was boring. And that's even worse. You know, you can expand the canon all you want as long as you give me something that's entertaining. Don't sit there and preach to me how I'm an isterophobe or a bad whatever or a toxic man-baby fan and then expect me to keep coming back to it. What is these people's problem? I don't understand where we got this creator against consumer mentality, but it has to stop. And this is why I can't condemn or judge people on wanting to sail the high seas for these properties, because these properties clearly don't want your money. If they did, they would treat you with some respect. I can't legally endorse it, obviously, but what am I going to do? I can't tell you not to do it, because look at this. Look at what this is. This is just telling you, don't consume our product. It's all fake anyway. It doesn't matter. That's all it is. It doesn't matter, and we don't care about it. We don't know why you nerds care about it. Don't buy our stuff. At the end of the day, that's all this really is. And this is the same thing I see from the people who make Doctor Who, the same thing I see from the people who make Star Trek now. They don't care about it. They don't want our money. And if they did, they'd be trying a little harder to please us as fans. They'd be a little more considerate. They'd be a little more appreciative of the money that we spend on these things. And I, for one, am tired of these companies telling me that my money isn't welcome there. Well, you know what? Very well. I'll go buy something else. I'll buy another Martin guitar instead of a Star Wars thing. I could certainly use another. I only have 3. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I am MechaRandom42, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.